Welcome to Movie Blaze, where we bring you a short recap. Today, I will show you a thriller film from 2013, titled Stoker. Sit back, relax, and join us as we explore the dark and twisted world of Stoker. The story begins with a sullen, morbid, quiet young girl named India Stoker. During her 18th birthday, her life is turned upside down after her loving father and best friend Richard dies in a horrific car accident. India is left with her estranged, unstable mother, Evelyn. Later that day, India helped Mrs. McGarrick, their housekeeper, and other maids prepare food for their visitors. While India is deep in her thoughts, she overhears their two maids chatting about her father's death in the kitchen, and there's a rumor that he did it on purpose. They are also concerned about who would care for India. "She still has her mother," answered the other maid, to which the other replied sarcastically, "Her mother cares after her." It's probably the opposite way around. India is irritated by what she hears, so she smashes the egg so loudly that she can't listen to what they're saying. At the funeral, Evelyn and India meet Richard's attractive and intriguing brother Charlie, whom they had never met before. He appears to have spent most of his life wandering the world. Charlie addressed India, but she did not react. Her mother attempted to push her towards her uncle, but she just shrugged it off. Hurt, Evelyn stated that her daughter dislikes being touched, even by her mother. Morning, India is lying on her bed, surrounded by boxes of saddle shoes with identical patterns but various sizes. She had always believed it was her father, but now that he is no longer alive, she wonders who sent her all the gifts. Evelyn mentioned to her brother-in-law and one of their visitors that India and Richard loved to hunt difficult animals, and her father stuffed everything she had killed. That evening, Charlie informed India that he would be staying at their house for the meantime, much to Evelyn's delight and India's annoyance. Shortly after Charlie moves in, India witnesses him argue with Mrs. McGarrick. The housekeeper told Charlie she didn't want any trouble and did everything he asked. She also mentioned that she kept him informed every year. She's been his eyes, ears, and hands to the Stoker family the entire time. Mrs. McGarrick has been enraged and exhausted by his manipulation since he was a child. After what she said, he calmly replied, "All right." One afternoon, Evelyn woke up to the noise she heard, headed to their kitchen, and saw her daughter listening to the radio while reading the Encyclopedia of Funerals and Mourning. She is looking for Mrs. McGarrick, but India doesn't know either. Evelyn tried to invite India to go shopping and get some ice cream, but India sarcastically said to her, based on her book, that in Victorian times a widow was expected to mourn her husband for 2 years at least. Evelyn just sighed and told India that after all those years of hunting trips with her father, she should go with her too. But India was distracted by her uncle, who was reading outside their window, and looked so dashing. Evelyn Stoker saw what she was gazing at and became sidetracked, saying that she missed her husband when he was younger. Evelyn and India look at Charlie with desire in their eyes. Later that day, Evelyn and Charlie went out. Bored, India entered her uncle's room and looked through his bag. She saw his passport, maps of New York, several calling cards, sunglasses that seemed familiar, and a white box with a yellow ribbon, which she receives every year. She got interrupted when she heard her mother calling her name. Later during dinner and bedtime, Charlie serves exquisite cuisine for them because, after a heated argument with the housekeeper, Mrs. McGarrick disappears without notice. Evelyn mentioned that her husband cooked delicious food like Charlie when India was still not yet born. While Charlie receives compliments from Evelyn, India looks annoyed. She suddenly asks why her mother didn't tell her she had an uncle, but Evelyn said she barely even knew about Charlie. Charlie mentioned his brother. Apologetically, Evelyn walks out because she doesn't want to talk about Richard. India and her uncle left behind. He gave her a glass of wine, because she is already 18 and she drinks it and asks, what does he want from her? Charlie replies he wants to be friends, but India doesn't want to befriend him because they are family. Finally, India accepts her uncle, maybe because of the tasty wine. One rainy afternoon, India had just returned home from school, drenched, when she noticed her mother and uncle happily playing the piano. She saw her mother wasn't wearing her wedding ring. While staring at them furiously, their maid accidentally slams the door, catching Evelyn and Charlie's attention, and sees India at their back, watching them. Evelyn naively informed her that she was teaching her uncle to play the piano. Charlie said she should join them after changing her clothes, but Evelyn interrupted and said India should wash first so she would not catch a cold. Meanwhile, India's great-aunt Gwendolyn arrives to visit the family. At dinner, Gwendolyn grows suspicious of Charlie's claims of traveling in Europe and reaches out to Evelyn and tells her they need to discuss her nephew Charlie living with them. On the other hand, Evelyn is annoyed by Gwendolyn's persistence and remembers her painful past when Richard wanted to marry her, and Aunt Gwendolyn has opinions about her. Evelyn cuts her off. When Gwendolyn was about to leave their house, she gave India her number secretly. Gwendolyn switched hotels as a precaution. Gwendolyn goes outside to use a phone booth because she can't make calls from her cheap motel room. Charlie appears out of nowhere, and feeling disappointed, he asks why she lies about her hotel. He returns her cell phone, then slowly removes his belt and strangles his aunt. Meanwhile, India discovers Mrs. McGarrick's body in the basement freezer. Despite the horrifying discovery, India keeps it a secret. At that moment, Evelyn tried to seduce Charlie into his room, but to her dismay, she couldn't find him. While she was in his room, she found a white box that contained something that made her smile. While India leaves school, one of her classmates, Chris, decides to taunt her about her mother and uncle had an affair. India confronts her bully, and while he attempts to punch her, she stabs his hand with a pencil, enraged. Meanwhile, another classmate, Whip, intervenes and instructs the others to leave India alone. In the evening, India witnesses Charlie and her mother growing intimate and kissing passionately. India runs, enraged with what she sees, and wanders off to a local diner where she sees Whip. India and Whip go into the woods, she seduces him, and while they are making out, India aggressively bites Whip. She changes her mind and wants to go home, but the boy misinterprets India's behavior as a sexual advance and decides to force himself on her. Just as Whip was on top of India, Charlie appeared and strangled the boy with his belt. India is now a true conspirator. They brought Whip's body to their house and buried him in their garden.
India decides to call Gwendolyn, and when she hears the woman's phone ring in the garden, she realizes Charlie also murdered Gwendolyn.
India takes a shower and experiences a sexual awakening, touching herself to the memory of the murder, climaxing as she remembers Charlie breaking Whip's neck. That night, she went to her mother's room and asked if she could brush her hair, but Evelyn declined because she would go to bed, so India volunteered to brush Evelyn's hair instead. Evelyn couldn't refuse anymore. Evelyn realized they never had a mother-daughter bonding experience because India and her father were always on hunting trips. India suddenly confronts her mother about what she saw in the dining room. Evelyn calmly said that nothing happened, and she was utterly still and had no idea she was there. She replied that her dad taught her to hunt and to wait in silence so they could watch everything. She always thought that her dad loved hunting, but that night she realized that he just did it for her. Richards used to say that sometimes you need to do something bad to stop you from doing something worse. Afterward, India searches through Richards' office for anything she wishes to preserve. She realizes that the key she received for her birthday is for a locked drawer on Richards' desk. India discovers old photographs of her father's family and a mysteriously cut photograph of a baby boy. She also finds that Charlie has been writing to her for many years. In those letters, her uncle describes his travels and expresses his love for India, his niece whom he has not yet met. India is moved to tears by these revelations, but then she realizes Charlie has been writing to her from a mental institution. Following these discoveries, India confronts Charlie about the letters and the cutout pictures of the baby boy. At the time, Charlie blamed Richard for paying more attention to their younger sibling than him. Out of jealousy, young Charlie murdered his baby brother Jonathan by guiding him to the top of the slide and sliding down to the pit. He had his younger brother buried alive. After the incident, Charlie's family committed him to a mental institution where he spent most of his life. When Charlie insisted on getting discharged on India's 18th birthday, Richard gave his younger brother a passport and money and advised him to move to New York and stay away from his family. Feeling hurt and betrayed, Charlie beats Richard to death with a rock and stages a car accident. When India sees her uncle wearing her father's sunglasses, she realizes that Charlie killed her father. As India threatens Charlie to leave the house, her uncle attempts to calm her down by saying he has returned for her and presents India with a pair of stiletto heels. Charlie's touch on her feet gave her the pleasant sensation of being touched. Meanwhile, Sheriff Howard shows up at the Stoker's house, questioning India about Whip's disappearance. Charlie provides cover for India by giving her a false alibi. The sheriff remains suspicious of India and Charlie but decides to leave them. But before he leaves, he inquires whether Mrs. McGarrick, the housekeeper, ever contacts them after leaving their town. She responded calmly that the maid did not. He said, suspiciously, that it seemed unusual that people could vanish from her. Knowing that Sheriff Howard is onto them, Charlie asks India to accompany him to New York. Meanwhile, Evelyn witnesses her daughter and Charlie sharing an intimate moment, and discovers the stiletto heels she believes are for her are now on India's feet. Feeling hurt and awkward, she excuses herself and leaves. Later that evening, Evelyn coldly expresses her desire to watch India suffer before confronting Charlie about how she knows the truth about him. Charlie seduces Evelyn and then attempts to strangle her with his belt. He yells at India to show her how he will murder her mother. India appears and fatally shoots Charlie in the head with a hunting rifle. India leaves the house after burying her uncle in the backyard and drives away in Charlie's car. While moving away from home, India comes across Sheriff Howard, who orders her to pull over for speeding. Meanwhile, he asks a question about the reason why India is in such a hurry. India tells Sheriff Howard that she wants to catch his attention and stabs him in the neck with a pair of pruning shears. Then, India leaves the car to chase after the wounded sheriff, only to finally shoot him with her rifle.